Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.
Help me understand this, Paul.
Okay.
We're going to get right into this, right? So,
All right.
because it doesn't always sports with us. It's life in general, right?
I love life, yeah.
Yeah, I know you do. Why is it that when somebody tries to change their life for what they think is a positive thing, they're met with a lot of either backhanded, not compliments, but backhanded comments or outright scorn? Or why is it? Why is that?
Well, my first reaction to your incredible weight loss and just how good you look is it's a jealousy and it's, damn, I should be doing that.
You think?
But I don't want to. So I'm mad at you because you make me feel guilty for not wanting to and then not doing it. So that's where it comes from. But I'm definitely okay enough with my life, my lifestyle, how I lead it. Mm-hmm. And it's all choices. But I think when you make a change for, I'm going to quit drinking, I'm going to eat healthy, all the things that everyone knows they should be doing, it triggers a, damn.
Like a response.
I should be doing that. That's all.
Yeah.
But what it should do, and when people react negatively toward you, it really means you need to stay the path.
I think.
Because it's their problem.
I think.
Too many people, and I'm married to the ultimate people pleaser,
mm-hmm.
and I finally have started to get through to her a little bit in that, like, how dare you give perfect strangers my time with you? Things like that. And it really wakes her up. She's like, what am I go, well, there's a perfect stranger that listened to you on B94 and blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden you're like, it's 45 minutes later, and they're just engaging you in, do you remember when this happened? Remember when did that? And our issue is we don't have enough time together. Now,
I can see that.
This is a while ago.
I can see that.
But, and I could see, and that was a big issue she had in her first marriage, that, you need to make the people in your life that matter the priority. She goes, well, how do you handle that? And I go, it's real simple. Oh, it's really nice to meet you. The one thing I don't get is enough time with my wife or enough time with my family. I really appreciate those. Are great memories and such a blast. Shoot me an email or something, find me on Facebook, and maybe we can reminisce. But this is my time with my wife right now. I hope you understand that.
Oh, that's a very diplomatic way of doing it.
I hope you understand that.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
And because when you make someone feel it, you don't treat the people that matter the most like they matter the least. Mm-hmm. And I used to tell my kids, I love how you act when you're at someone else's house, when you're around someone else's parents. But why don't you treat us that way? And we all did it when we were kids.
Of course.
We were on our best behavior when you were at the neighbor's house.
Always.
But what your parents really deserved and needed was a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Or a lot of that.
Yeah.
Actually.
I would agree.
So as we get older, I think we start to figure.
I quit that too.
We start to figure it out. And I had a great one of my dear friends lives in Philly, and it was just one of those things. I was just haven't talked to him in a while, wondering, and he's by himself. And I gave him a buzz, and it was just like it was the right time to call him because the pandemic and everything else, and he just doesn't feel like he's connected with anybody. He feels isolated. He works kind of by himself from his house, so no interaction with people. Normally gets back here every couple of months at least. Hasn't been here in 6 months, and he just needed to reconnect.
Wow.
And that's important.
Did you feel that?
I did.
You know the call? Yeah.
I felt it.
Yeah, I bet.
And it's cool. And he just said, I needed this. And I go, I know.
Yeah.
I know. And I needed to know you were okay. Mm-hmm. So that's...
Well, last time you were here was the beginning of the pandemic. You and I just said, screw it. There's a pandemic. We're gonna do this, and we did it.
Yeah.
Remember that? It was about a year ago.
Well, I was tickled to read yesterday or today, and I don't want to preach irresponsibility or anything disrespectful, but I mean, how tickled am I to read that in Texas and Mississippi, they're at an all-time low in terms of new cases.
Right.
And they have opened up the state. They have opened up no masks. And I hate the fear-mongering that makes people basically disconnect from their own faculties, from their own common sense.
That didn't happen, did it?
Oh, jeez. I think the most egregious, and it was probably about this time last year when it was finally starting to get nice, and I'm thinking, maybe we can get out and play some golf. So
I remember you telling me.
My son and I arrive, and, they're very, and they were just allowed to open. So, of course, here in Pennsylvania, which is the most ass-backward state in the history of all states, I mean, we suck. We suck out loud in everything that we do. And you know what? Election time, I hope people start to realize how much we suck. We suck. Most expensive and worst turnpike in the world.
It's getting more expensive.
Exactly. We suck. Our taxes are the highest. We get the least for them. We suck at all things. So
overregulated.
We were closed. No golf in Pennsylvania. West Virginia and Ohio had been open for like 2 months before our local courses were allowed to open. So everyone was driving to West Virginia to buy alcohol, to play golf, to do. Where do you think that money's going? What? We're going to close it here. Well, you're going to go get it. Didn't the prohibition teach anyone anything? So my son and I show up at, I'm not going to name names. He said, well, you're going to have to get separate carts. So we drove here together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that's our rule. I go, your rule's ridiculous. Do I have to pay for 2 carts? Yeah. I go, well, therein lies the reason for the rule.
Of course.
My son's happy. He goes, oh, I get to drive. I said, why would I let you drive this one? We don't need 2 freaking carts.
Right.
But when you challenge my sensibilities, I get a little bit angry.
Yeah. You were angry last time, too, on the restaurant scenario and the whole trying to, orchestrate the way that we now conduct in restaurant dining. Right. It hasn't gotten any better, to be honest with you.
Well, how about, you can't, April 4th, we can sit at the bar.
Yeah.
But for the last 6 months, you can put a table perpendicular to the bar and sit there.
Right.
Because the COVID ain't coming there. And people just go, okay.
Right. Yeah, the rules are so ridiculous on their premise, but we just bow and submit. And I'm not saying break the law. I'm not saying that. But as a people, we just kind of... And the thing that drives me nuts, Paul, is it really exposed how strong the power is, the grip of power. It's an aphrodisiac like no other. I really believe that. Beyond money, beyond sex, and a power thing, to be able to tell people you can't work because I said so. Right. That's unbelievable. I mean, that really is unbelievable.
And the way people react to it, there are the rule followers that will, it doesn't matter what you tell them, they'll do it. And they won't question it. And that, to me, is how society falls apart. Read something the other day that stuck with me, and I've been trying to share it with everybody. The further society moves from the truth, the more we hate those that tell it.
Of course.
And
that's just logical.
That's how it feels now to me. That if you would actually stand up and say, truth. Why, give me a good reason why. Why do you have to question everything? I don't know, because we've seen it. Just look at history. When people blindly follow rules, really bad things happen.
It didn't work over in Germany very well.
That's the prime example. I'm just following orders.
Or Russia.
We're exterminating an entire genocide. We're just following orders, and that's what those people thought and believed and did and said. Now, we haven't been asked to do anything other than wear masks and socially distance. I mean, we haven't been asked to do anything outrageous. But when you question it, you're some sort of real problem, and you have to question when things don't make sense.
I think so. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do that, too. And there's been a lot of...
respectful.
Yes. And that's where I think you and I always meet in the middle, because there's a right and wrong way to do everything. And extremes don't want the procedures to be anything. It's even remotely a compromise, right? And I think that's where the bulk of the discord came from.
Well, we keep our political entities in power by the polarization of the parties.
Mm-hmm.
And my biggest dream was when this was all going on and the whole presidential election was just, I mean, I don't recall it ever being as just awful in terms of the hate.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we now judge people by who they voted for. You vote, oh, I hate you. What? Really?
It became a litmus test.
Really? Oh, I see. So, and then all you do is pick apart, they did this. Well, if you haven't figured out that both sides really suck,
Badly.
you're not paying attention.
Badly.
So my dream, and my son, 17, smart kid, I love having great conversations with him because I say, you know what, it's your world. I mean, I'm deep on the back nine here. You know, I can't really worry too much about what's coming forward because I'm not going to have to really deal with it that long.
Okay.
A third party, if someone would have just said, and some amazingly charismatic leader would have stepped up and said, it's time to just blow this up. This is not working. We need term limits. We absolutely have to get rid of all lobbyists. We have to control all campaign contributions. We need a very strict and simple tax code where Amazon actually doesn't get to not pay taxes.
Right.
Are you kidding me? And
They're not the only ones.
And people, because the lobbyists and the politicians just love the way things are right now, they will do anything in their power to make sure that no one actually thinks, acts, or tries to change anything. And sadly, we just keep rolling. And it just keeps sucking and sucking more and more.
We had a choice between senility and lunacy,
Yeah.
in my opinion. And no matter what side you chose, someone's going to label you, and that was your badge, and that was your litmus test. And you either failed it or you passed it, depending on what side of or what person you run into. I don't understand buying into labeling oneself. I just cannot do it. We grew up in an era, Paul, remember that politics, religion, and money were three things I remember as children we were not to talk about. And all of a sudden, we now willingly wear our politics as a badge. It's crazy.
It's social
But
media.
it's nuts. It's nuts.
This stupid thing. And
makes us stupid.
And Twitter and everything else that's out there now makes everybody believe not only is their, opinion so valuable, it needs to be expressed on every issue at every moment at every time. And sadly, it's really just kind of falsely allowed people to believe they matter. And
yeah, that's a good way of
what
putting
they
it.
really,
That's a
it's
good
not that,
way
I
of
mean, we
putting
all
it.
matter.
No, we don't.
No.
In reality, we don't.
I mean, we don't, but I mean, we could. But there are ways to affect change, and there are ways to go about things. And what we've gotten away from, it starts at home and how you raise your kids. And we've got it all ass backwards.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, it used to be when you got in trouble at school, you were afraid to come home.
Yep.
Now, if you get in trouble at school, we got to fire that teacher. That principal sucks. He's an idiot. My kid's not playing. That coach needs to be fired. Everybody's a victim. There's no accountability and no responsibility. There's no tough love.
You're not allowed to do tough love with children anymore.
Well, not with anybody.
Yeah, good
You can't even do. I mean, we have now taken away all of the power of like our NFL coaches. People don't understand. Like Ben Roethlisberger, in my opinion, done. He's 30. There's 4 people in the league older than he is right now in the entire NFL.
Wow.
And what people don't realize that Mike Tomlin saw that Aaron Rodgers didn't want Mike McCarthy to be the coach of the Green Bay Packers
And
anymore.
look what happened.
Guess where he is? I mean, he's coaching the Dallas Cowboys, but he didn't want to leave Green Bay.
No, he had a nice gig there.
He loved it. Won a Super Bowl there.
Mm-hmm.
He's out. Get out. So Mike Tomlin's like, that's not going to be the way I'm going out.
Mm-hmm.
So Ben gets to do whatever the hell he wants.
It appears that way.
Well, he got rid of Todd. And then his buddy Randy, who never said anything to Ben, let Ben do whatever he wants. Then he's gone.
So that worked out.
And now they bring in a guy that Ben hates his offense.
I know.
How's that going to go?
I don't understand it.
Why would that marriage be... I mean, it has no chance of being amicable. Or, I mean, if the coordinator, and from what I gather from Matt Canada, the new offensive coordinator, he tells people, like, he's the coach.
Right.
I tell you what to do. I tell you what play to run.
Let's see how
what
that
a
works.
concept.
Let's see how that
That's
works.
That's what I'm paid to do. But as we saw with Todd, who actually, I mean, to me, that was enjoyable. I mean, from an entertainment standpoint and from a performance standpoint, he got a lot out of Ben.
Yeah.
And Ben hated him.
Yeah.
Because Ben wants to do what Ben wants to do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, to me, the reason I brought that up, that's where we are now.
I get it.
Like, no one, like, even as parents, like, you know, parents are afraid to tell their kids the way it is. Mm-hmm. That really hurt my first marriage. It was, we said no, and I meant no, and you caved.
Right.
You just basically cut off my new, you cut them off.
Right.
So you stripped my authority.
Right.
Because you don't have the guts to do what's right.
To parents.
Have the guts to do what's right. Mm-hmm. And now, all these many years later, you were right. Well, yeah. That doesn't matter now.
No.
Those moments are galvanizing. Mm-hmm. And I also throw out, and it's, you know, I'm at that age where I say things over and over, but I think of a drill sergeant in the U.S. Marine Corps as the perfect parent.
Well, that's
the perfect
There's
parent.
no response to any command there. I mean, there's one,
this is the way
one
it is.
way, it's their way.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah. And
they keep people alive. The idea is they keep people alive.
And here's when the test is, any Marine, I'm sure there's an outlier, and someone would be, they love their parents, and then their drill sergeant. Mm-hmm. That's who, when it's all said and done, those are the people that mattered most in their lives.
I get it.
Because it's easy, you know, put the kid in front of an iPad, put the kid in front of the TV, just, you know, or, you know, when a tough issue comes up, just let them win because they're going to be unhappy.
How did that happen? When did that start? When did
not with my parents.
Well, I mean, like, if you had to say,
it was our generation of parenting that just ruined everything. We sucked.
There's no question.
You know, we look at the greatest generation. You know, all the World War II vets. You know, that group of people, by far the greatest generation.
Yep.
It's the only reason we still have our country and everything else. I think and I guess, what am I, a baby boomer? I'm 60.
You'd be a late baby boomer.
Yeah.
I'm on the cusp of the Generation X.
Okay.
I'm 66. So.
Okay. So we suck. Because we caved and gave in at every turn.
And we did it under the guise that we just wanted a better life for our kids than what we had. That was the excuse that we used to let our kids run amok. It's basically what happened.
We were too lazy to parent. We were too self-absorbed to parent.
And now the generation behind us is extremely self-absorbed with every distraction imaginable. And that's where I think you've seen the breakdown in regards to the breakdown of authority. The authority is not respected in any capacity today.
No.
And that's a big problem.
You think?
Big problem. Big social problem.
And it's not that there aren't irresponsible people that have authority, and that needs to be challenged. And, you know, there's nothing worse than a bad cop. But when 99% of them are good, why do we act like they're all bad?
Yes.
Well, why?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you want a lawless society? Do you think that criminals... Who cares more about your well-being? A cop or a criminal?
Of course, man.
I mean, are you kidding me? But the logic out there, or the overriding sentiment, or it's probably the very extremely vocal minority, honestly believe that all cops are bad.
Of course. We went to we went to the furthest extreme and somehow mainstreamed that idea, and it started to creep in them. Where you saw townships canceling their police departments, or I mean, it's funny how that's kind of changing now, when the crime rates of and where was that not visible from the beginning? Like, how could that have been I don't know, a surprise, right?
Right. I mean, I don't know what's going on in Oregon. It's not like I've been out there paying much attention, but I can't imagine it's good.
No,
I can't.
It's not. And Oregon's kind of an interesting place because you have Portland, you have the bigger cities, and then once you get out past the cities, you do have an interesting tidal shift.
It's like Woodstock.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all about that. I mean, there's something about the 60s that I wasn't really a part of that I could embrace. Uh-huh. I mean, there was a part of that was that was really cool. I mean, you need balance. Mm-hmm. You do. You need structure, but you also need, there can't be force. There can't be.
There needs to be civility, though.
Oh,
civility is the thing that's
lacking. What a great word.
That's what's lacking.
Empathy, civility, kindness.
Mm-hmm.
It was just saying, was it Mr. Rogers would have been his birthday like a week or so ago?
Right.
Kindness is everything. Mm-hmm. And it is. Mm-hmm. It is. And the thing that sucks about our leaders, it's all about divide and conquer.
No doubt. Well, they're good at it.
Divide and conquer, because when the people that think they're so diametrically opposed to one another would actually get across from one another, mm-hmm. or be an opportunity where they were thrown together, they'll realize that they're the same. They're not different.
They don't want us to.
They actually care and believe in the same things.
Uh-huh.
They just think because of these idiotic. I mean, if anyone can actually tell me that they think that Nancy Pelosi and or Donald Trump are good people, and you want to follow them, mm-hmm. why?
Yeah. Well,
why?
Here's what cracks me up. What cracks me up more than anything else was what I heard as a child was that it was ridiculous to idolize rock stars. Eric, it was ridiculous to idolize sports athletes. This is even before the era of drugs and steroids and all that, right? And we're supposed to look to our leaders. Look to the leaders. And now I look how did that work out? How did that work out? Really? I mean, our leaders today are people that you'd really want to look up to and listen to verbatim. I mean, really? I think the rock stars might have been more sensible than the damn politicians, right?
And athletes as well.
Exactly. That's my point. It's nuts. It's who are you going to for your information? I mean, really.
How do we fix it?
I think about this every day.
I do too.
Every day.
And my wife, who I love dearly, and maybe she has a better grip on it. She just goes, what are you going to do about it? Like, talking about it is as pointless as anything. I'm like, well, to me, it's kind of like venting. Mm-hmm. It feels better when I have an opportunity to talk to somebody that also mm-hmm. feels a little bit like I do, mm-hmm. and would like to at least think there's a chance.
Right.
And I truly do believe, and I haven't followed, I don't really know. I know from a philosophical standpoint, I'm very libertarian, mm-hmm. but I don't know if there's any viable people in that party.
No,
it doesn't appear to be.
Not nationally, not from an organization.
Not any. I mean, I don't think anywhere. Mm-mm. But how do we?
It has to come from a third party, and here's the problem: the first mover advantage is so great on both sides with money and organizational and structure. I mean, I think there should be a party called the Pragmatic Party. You have a Democrat, Republican, the Pragmatic Party. So It's pragmatic, moderate, reasonable, logical thinking, and base our problems and our solutions upon things that make sense, science. Really take the esoteric out of it, and just look at it from a very rational standpoint. It sounds easy to me, but getting people on board with anything because people are drunk on their guy or gal, their team, rah. When did the Democrats and Republicans become the Yankees and the Red Sox? Because I'm not rooting for anybody. I mean, I root for my team, but I realize it's a baseball game. And when I go home with my son after the game, if we lose, I'm still loved. Life's great. Life's great, man.
And without a team that you respect and enjoy to compete against, There's no game.
That's exactly right. And you respect. That's
There's
a
no
good
game.
point, Paul. That's a good point.
That's
a good point. There's no hatred.
No, and everyone. I don't read as much as I used to, or as much as I should, but everything I've ever read about and from Martin Luther King is all as spot on as anything that I've ever heard.
No doubt.
Yet those that claim to follow him the closest are about as far. It's like, to me, it's like the religious right. How far away are they from Jesus?
They're the farthest thing away from Christianity. That's for sure.
Well, I'm not a fan of. I mean,
well, they say they're Christian. They said they espouse Christian values, right?
And then they hate. They don't tolerate. And to me, it's almost like those that want to really espouse the virtues of Martin Luther King are burning down a Mercedes dealership in L.A. He was so vehemently against violence of any kind.
Right.
So, like, these people, a lot of them were looking for an excuse to just act out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was tolerated and almost applauded by too many people.
It was under the guise of a movement. And the movement was legitimized by a portion of our political base. And once you had that was the green light to act on the movement. Yeah. But the problem was that included, in many instances, not every, but included a lot of violence, and the envelope just kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And it's just, and luckily, I want to believe the cooler heads in the end always do prevail. But in the meantime, a lot of damage gets done.
Oh my!
A lot of damage. A lot of damage.
A lot of irreparable harm.
Yeah. And again, it's the extremes are so attractive, and I don't know, when did that really become sexy? Like, when did the extreme way of living life, I mean really living life, become like an attractive thing? Because usually the extremes were where you were afraid in school because that kid's so whacked out over there. I'm going to do something nuts. I can't hang around him. Or the passive ones are just way too passive. They don't interest me either. You always kind of found yourself somewhere in the middle, testing the waters each direction, but kind of living in the middle. Most of us did that.
Yeah.
And because we survived. We got this far. But why do we live on the extremes now?
And I never chose, I never wanted to be labeled.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, I did the theater stuff in high school. I did the jock stuff in high school. I did the morning announcements in high school. Yeah. I loved high school.
Yeah.
I loved everything that was offered to be a part of. And I just went, with all groups. I never considered myself that I was, no, not those guys, or no, not them. It was like...
But look how well that served you in life. Absolutely. Look what you do for a living. I mean, you're like a ringleader. A lot of your job is you definitely are a ringleader, and you have to be able to have an open mind all around you for all kinds of opinions, and then kind of flesh that out. I mean, that's served you well. But there's not enough people that remember what it was like because they lived like that too, Paul. Most folks lived in a very most folks probably lived in a very well-raised family in regards to demographic. It was the moral fiber of the country was different then, right? How soon we forget. The things that were not in vogue to talk about when we were kids. Now we wear them as badges.
Yeah.
I mean, if my grandmother would really be alive to see, really and understand that people wear their support for candidates, political candidates, and then argue with strangers in supermarket parking lots over it. She would that world to her would probably look so foreign to anything that she was associated with. It's a shame. It's crazy. It's goon town. I don't get it. And is it going to change? I don't know. I kind of laugh at it now. I love the word indifferent. Rocco Koza, our mutual friend, I've had him on the podcast a couple of times, and that concept of indifference we talk about, not that you don't care, it's just that if there's a subject or two or three that you're not well versed on, it's okay to not have an opinion.
Right.
Because that way you're not adding bullshit to the national dialogue, right? The narrative.
There's things that you can't make me care about. Is what it comes down
That's
to.
so good. That's
You know what I mean?
Good. That's
like
so good.
You can't make me care.
You can't. That's good. That's good.
Okay, I mean, and my, I got today. I got my second shot from my Pfizer vaccine.
Right.
I'm very fortunate that someone was able to find a spot for me because someone had canceled and they just hooked me up, and I'm like,
Right.
yes, I'll do it.
Right.
But I just don't even know what's going on. I mean, I don't.
Right.
And my whole life as a journalist, the movie All the President's Men was one of my all-time favorites, and that was Watergate.
It's a great one.
Woodward and Bernstein, and they actually they were about the truth.
Mm-hmm. Gordon Liddy just died. You see that?
Did.
Yeah.
90 years old.
Yep.
G. Gordon Liddy.
Yep.
And I read a lot of books, and I really, Nixon, unfortunately for his, he was just paranoid. He had that election in the bag. I mean, there was not even anything to worry about. But
it's a great
but
lesson
he was
on
very
life.
uptight.
On life, no doubt.
But there is no one, in my opinion, right now, no organization that actually seeks the truth. Mm-hmm. There's not a news organization. There's not an individual. Mm. Everybody seeks to fatten their agenda. Mm-hmm. This is what I believe, and I'm going to leave this person nameless too, but I love a good sports debate. That's still one of my favorite things, and I love to host, the shows that I get to do on the weekend because they're good sports debate.
Right.
And I really was fascinated by the JFK assassination because it didn't add up. And there's no way really, if you're a logical person with common sense, that you think that Lee Harvey Oswald worked alone, because to get off 3 shots like that, not even the greatest marksman in history could have done that.
Well, just talk to Cyril White for a while, right?
I have.
Yeah.
I have. And I've loved every second of it. And
absolutely.
that's what happened. My sophomore year in high school, he came to our high school and did this huge presentation.
How cool
and
is
it blew
that?
my mind. And
Cool
then I got to know him personally. But I would simply refer to a lot of people, and I think the world we live in now, it's the Warren Commission. Mm-hmm. And that was the commission that was set out to determine who assassinated JFK. Mm-hmm. And it was clear to me, and it's still clear to me, they set out with the conclusion.
Of course they did.
And then went out to prove it.
Of course they did.
So you ignore evidence that would go, and that's what the world is now, the Warren Commission. Mm-hmm. This is what I believe. This is my dogma. This is my belief system. So even though you're presenting like dead cold facts that would blow up my belief, I'm going to ignore that because I'm going this way, and this is what I believe.
I'll die on that hill with those beliefs.
I still, and my whole life I've been this way. I never thought of it that way. That's a great point you just made. I had a great, I work with some young guys now back at, now we're Odyssey Radio. We just changed from Entercom yesterday to Odyssey.
Okay.
Which is cool.
How many? You've survived so many different changes.
You just roll.
Hey, you think we walk around like the Warren Commission? Is that what you said?
I do. And I used to have these great sports debates with this gentleman that was very good at what he did, and it was by design. I mean, he wasn't he didn't exactly believe his take as much as he enjoyed proving everybody wrong. That was his goal, and that's a good debate.
It's not real authentic, though, right?
No, and that's where like sports talk has gotten. It's now about a hot take, and that hot take has to be, this guy's going to be the best of all time. He's the GOAT. Or
extremes. It's extremes, Paul.
Exactly. You're spot on. It's an extreme.
Everything's extreme.
I made an observation. My wife and I love to binge watch shows.
Okay.
Like Netflix, and we hit them pretty hard, and we can do one more. Yeah, one more. Say, oh my God, it's like 1 a.m. We're watching another one, but she can't stay awake anymore, so we've curtailed that a bit. But the thing that's so cool now that I love, and I used to hate a lot of the things they put forth for us to devour for entertainment. There's no more, this guy's a good guy, this woman's a bad person. There's a lot of, And the show Dexter, I don't know if you watched that
I
series.
watched
It was
them all.
fantastic.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
here was this serial killer that only killed people that got away with murder.
Right.
Horrible people.
Right.
That did horrible things. He was the ultimate vigilante to make justice served. And he did it in a very creative, and he was a very smart guy. But then someone was onto him,
Right.
and he crossed the line, and he killed a perfectly good person.
Right.
But was that justifiable? The point being that I think the sooner that we all realize, and I mean we go introspectively, that we're not all good or all bad. No one is all good or all bad. No one is all right or all wrong. But you need to kind of compartmentalize. That's good. He's right about that. But boy, he loses me here. But that doesn't make for good talk radio, I guess, because, you have to be completely on this side so everyone you can either have them hate you or love you. And I'm like, well, wait a second. What about this? And like, well, that, and you can just tell the frustration of making people think. And that's wherein lies the rub, in that it's much easier just to align yourself and let them do all the thinking. And we're with that person. We're with this side.
I refuse to do it.
I can't do it.
I refuse to do it.
I can't do it. How can you do that? How can you ignore the horrific injustices, whatever side you're on?
Absolutely.
How do you ignore or rationalize or pander to the shit that the side that you believe in does?
Exactly right.
How do you do that?
Okay,
I can't.
so oh my, where'd I go with this? So basically, if you believe in right-wing agendas and you're a right-winger or you're a Republican, and you're dyed-in-the-wool Republican, you're going to die on that hill with the Republican Party no matter what. That would mean that you have an understanding of the big tenets within the Republican platform. And I won't go through them all, but I'm saying that it's always been a pro-life party, but it's also a pro-death penalty. It's also there's a lot of contradictions. What I'm saying is that I want to parse them out. There's no way every human walking the planet that is so gung-ho about the elephant party, honestly, if you sit them down and you go through the 10 tenets of the Republican platform, they probably only would agree with a couple of them.
Right.
You see, that whole thing of buying into a party, you have to accept the whole thing.
No.
It's bullshit. And we learned how to critically think as a child. We learned how to rationalize and evaluate circumstances and analyze people. We learned it in a young age, but why all of a sudden now don't we do that anymore? Why do we just... It's so lazy intellectually. It drives me nuts. We just look at someone and, okay, they're that way, then you know what? They're no good.
Right.
And we move on.
Done. Dismissed.
Or you know what? They're godlike. Because they do one thing we like. They must be like... They're godlike. They can do no wrong. That is so scary and insane to me, to live that way. To live that way.
It's frightening. And it's lazy. But I don't know what choice people think they have. And I think that's what really is missing. Because I think if you would have a good discussion, my oldest daughter, who's brilliant, huge Bernie Sanders person.
Okay.
And now, as anyone that would be a really legitimate Bernie Sanders, he legitimately should have been the candidate the last two.
The party stole it right from him.
They took it from him twice.
Right.
But here's where, and I say this to her, well, he's an idiot to keep supporting them for what they've done to him.
What does that tell you about the machine?
Right. Get out the way.
Uh-huh.
You're not. Get out the way.
Yeah.
Just get out of the way.
My argument was, the one I couldn't remember was gun rights. So my point is, if you're a Republican and you like Trump or you like whoever the Republican Party or your parents did, and maybe you just assume you're a Republican, and that's okay, and you believe in pro-life, oh, absolutely. Women should protect the unborn, right? That means you obviously must be pro-gun rights too, right? Can you not be a critical person? And what if you're against gun rights?
Right.
Do you have to die on that hill believing you like gun rights? I mean, why would you compromise your core beliefs to fit anyone else's agenda?
Right.
That's someone else's life. That's not my life.
No.
You know, that's someone else's opinion of how I should live my life. I can't go there, man.
No.
I can't go there. And it's not understood by most people in my sphere. They just don't. They can't think for themselves. They can. They won't think for themselves.
Well, I think they feel powerless.
I feel powerless too, but I'm not.
I do as well.
But I'm
that
not
doesn't going to make me give in to. Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do this. No. But I do feel.
No.
I do feel powerless because.
Yeah.
And I think that
certainly
the biggest shift, and I'd love you to chime in on this. What used to be a responsible, thoughtful, truthful profession is now the biggest part of the problem, and that's the media.
You're swimming in
because
it.
people
You would know.
people say,
You would know.
well, that's what they said. That's what. Okay, well, who's the president of ABC News? What's their spouse's position? Oh, they're the chairman of the Democratic Party.
Right.
Oh, do you think that for a second that they're it's the truth? And again, I hate both sides. I'm an equal opportunity offender, always have been.
Yep.
But as much as I disagree with so much of what the right does, believes in, and espouses, they have a 99% media opposition with everything they do or say.
And they always have.
Everything they do or say.
They always have.
And I just can't tolerate the lack of objectivity in the media. It's
Well, you watched it happen.
it's disgusting.
Firsthand. You watched it.
I was living it.
Yeah.
I mean, I did news for years.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a business.
Well, that's the problem.
Oh, well, that's the reality.
That's the problem.
And, you know, people, and it's so funny, and it's, I lump a lot of people into some categories, which I shouldn't do, but, you know, no one eats at McDonald's anymore. Go buy one and look at the drive-thru. Someone's eating there.
No doubt.
But no one will ever admit it. And that just, you know, absolutely, you know, cracks me up. And people say they hate the news because of this, and this. They hate the sensationalism. They hate the blood and guts.
They're addicted to it.
There was the CBS affiliate in Chicago was like in 6th place out of a 5-station market. They sucked.
Okay.
They were awful.
Okay.
So they decided to blow it up and do what everyone said they wanted. They wanted long form, tell good stories about people doing good things. Say that, you know what, we're 6th out of 5. I mean, our ratings, you can't even see them.
There's nowhere to go.
Our ratings are below the surface. They gave it a shot. They hired some people that were famous for putting together really great storytellers that could tell.
No one wants to hear that.
People fixing the community, people doing great things, people getting, you know, all the great things that we need in our society. They were telling stories about that. Their ratings went from worse. They went from god-awful to worse.
Yeah.
Because we do, I mean, Channel 11 in Pittsburgh, you know, sorry, I love you guys over there. If it bleeds, it leads. I mean, they were always that way. They were always doing crime for the first 15 minutes, even if they had to make some of it up.
Truth.
I mean, that's what they did. And they, you know, 11 at 11, blah, blah, we're doing this. And, you know, is your tap water killing you? Tonight at 11. You know, I mean, a friend of mine that was doing all the topicals and all the, you know, like when you do like ratings period, you know, the sweeps pieces.
Yeah.
Like those are the perfect, is your tap water killing you? Tonight at 11. Well, why don't you tell me at 6 so I don't drink it and die? I mean, you know what? You're going to let me die now? But he couldn't do it anymore. He said, I can't scare people.
Yeah.
And now with, again, this. You don't have to watch TV anymore.
Well, that's the thing.
You don't have to watch the news anymore.
That's the competition to the news stations now, right?
Now we're trying, and again, all my friends in TV, I apologize, but if we don't scare the shit out of you with the upcoming weather, or scare the shit out of you about is your school going to be closed tomorrow? Or, whatever people care about, they scare you about. So
or
you
shock
watch.
you or shock you.
And that's awful. Mm-hmm. That's awful.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, if you look back, and as I try to always formulate, how did we get here? And of course, 95, 96 is when the internet really kind of started to become mainstream. That's never been flushed out. Tabloid television really kind of ushered in some bad stuff. Mm-hmm. And I go back all the way to the inception in 75 or 76 of 60 Minutes. That ushered it in. It disguised it as news. But it really was a tabloid news show. And from there, there was all the NBC shows that came to compete with that. Then Dateline, I guess, was Ted Koppel's thing on ABC every night, right? From 11:30.
Loved Ted Koppel.
Yeah, but it had that element of tabloid.
Sure.
It had that thing. And then you had the independents, though. Like in 88, 89, well, Morton Downey Jr. was regional, and you had some of those crazy folks, right?
He was nuts.
He was. But when Inside Edition, when Bill O'Reilly hit with that, and then right on the heels of that came the show called A Current Affair, and they were on the independents. But that took... See, to me, Paul, that's real laziness when it comes to entertainment. If you have to take news and then spin it and then sensationalize it to get ratings, that's not entertainment. If they're doing... that shows you that how lack of the creativity was being exposed. There was nothing there.
But the sad part is
they lap it up
when you watch, and we're kind of attracted to the the really crazies, as far as the shows that we watch.
It's off the hook now.
There's nothing in the world that you can make up that's crazier than the shit that's actually been done.
Yeah. That was their premise back then. Now, can you imagine lately, the last 3 years to go?
Think about it. Like, they try to make up all this crazy stuff.
I get it.
But the stuff that happens, in Central Florida on a daily basis would blow your mind. And
so reality television.
And here, I've been throwing this out a lot because I was a huge Dennis Miller fan.
Okay.
And he's just so bright. Now he's gone off the edge politically, which scares me. But, he just gave up on being entertaining. But he said the reason, and we're so far gone on it right now, the reason that we're real caught up in the name calling and the offending and all that kind of stuff is that we couldn't handle the actual big stuff. So we get all caught up in, the sticks and stones, just break my bones, names will never hurt me. Now names are killing people. You call someone a name, you're canceled, you're done. It's crazy. But I love that take that the reason we focus on the stupid, silly, peripheral bullshit is that we couldn't handle the truth. We couldn't handle...
How about that?
Like, whatever this... the fact that Fauci in 2017 at a lecture at Georgetown University said, in 2020 there will be a pandemic that will test this presidency. He said that on camera. It's on camera. How are you that good? I'm not trying to tell you that I know anything more than that, but I saw that, and that wasn't...
Yeah.
He never denied
it.
It happened. How the hell are you that good that in 2017...
Doesn't make sense.
So my point is, much like the Kennedy assassination and all the other things that happened that we don't know what happened. And to me, it's and people get mad at me for this because they want you to let it go. Spygate. What did the NFL do with the evidence? Well, they destroyed it.
They said.
No, they did.
Okay.
Why?
Because it
couldn't handle the truth.
Of course not.
Think about the millions, gazillions of dollars that were lost in bets.
Of course.
And all the things that happened, you can't recreate or take away. I love when colleges will vacate championships. Well, they cheated in 1982, so we vacated that championship. No, you didn't vacate it. Like the runner-up doesn't go, hey, we have a parade now. You can't vacate shit. It happened. But that's why when people Spygate, I go, why did they destroy the evidence?
Yeah.
See,
it's
to me,
incriminating.
Just look. Don't be stupid. They destroyed it because it was real. They destroyed it because it happened.
Of course,
I looked
there's
at
no
Joey
reason
Porter
not to.
in 2004. I looked at Joey Porter in the locker room and I just said, "You never got to Brady all day." He goes, it's as if they knew what we were going to do before we did it. Yeah, Joey, they did. As a matter of fact, they did. They did in 2001 as well.
Wow.
So as great as Tom Brady was last year, and that Super Bowl proved that it wasn't all Belichick and everything else, and I love and respect Brady's work ethic and his abilities.
Yeah.
They cheated.
Yeah. I think it's a foregone conclusion.
They cheated. But you know what? Can't change that either. I'm okay. I mean...
Well, we have to be.
It happened.
You can't rewrite history no matter how
you can
hard
tear
we
down
try.
statues.
Yeah, how hard we try in this country,
So
right?
Maybe in 20 years when they have a Brady statue, some really intense sports people, they go, tear that shit down. We're taking the Brady thing down.
But the thing about it is the super celebrities today are living in a dangerous world, Paul. I mean, the way we cancel and we destroy people on a turn of a dime. I mean, I think about someone like The Rock, who has this squeaky clean image that we know of. I got no reason to believe he's not.
Right.
Beloved by so many, but as high up as you go, at some point, there's going to be a fall, or maybe a crest for a while, but there's going to be a fall. That's just how we operate as Americans.
Humans.
Yeah, it's exactly how we.
We're not perfect,
and that should
and it's
be
all
okay.
leverage. Every show we're watching.
No question.
We're on Bosch right now. Have you seen Bosch?
Oh yeah. I like that show. It's on Amazon.
I like a badass detective.
Yeah,
always have.
Yeah,
I mean, from the history. I mean, I just
he looks the part too,
and he's just cool, and he's very righteous in a good way.
Right.
It's about the truth, and it's about justice, and it's about doing the right thing.
Right.
And politically, the only way that you continue to rise is if they don't have as much shit on you as you have on them.
Right.
And that's what people don't realize or want to think about.
It's interesting.
It's all dirty.
Yeah.
It's just how dirty were you? And I have,
who knows?
I have stuff on you that if you mess with me, it's coming out.
Well, that's politics.
Oh, it's
in
coming
general.
out.
That's politics.
That's
in
always
general.
been that way.
Yeah, because it always would. Yeah, that stuff in prior decades that would hold most things at bay.
Right.
Not anymore. It's the wild effing West right now.
Right, and that's the truth, and that's how far away from the truth we are. Because people in power wouldn't be there if they didn't have something on someone else.
That's how they got the power. Yeah, the truth is all subjective now, which is insane. If you talk to any scientist, they will laugh at that. But in their world, and good for them, it still is laughable.
Right.
But in our world, the concept of truth in our modern day society is all subjective and irrelevant to whatever leaning you have in philosophy.
Right. And we're all, as humans, we get excited when something's revealed or espoused as being the right way when it's something we believe in or hold near and dear to ourselves.
Of course.
So we tend to go with it. Like, see?
But we ignore that is proven to be true that we do not believe.
Or we take shots, or we
yeah.
belittle or demean the side that we don't agree with.
Yeah.
And that's a human, that's natural. But I wish, for the love of God, that someone would rise and would just say,
give us another alternative.
It's time to end all of this.
Yeah. That could happen.
It could.
I'm not sure how that would look and how that would happen, but the maneuvers would have to take place because the money in both political parties is so overwhelming. It's just it would take someone like with the wealth, I think, of someone like Bezos or someone like Musk, and I don't think, and rightfully so for them, they have any interest in.
No.
I mean, would you?
No.
Would you want that?
Horrible.
I mean, what a life is that? I mean, it's funny how one thing that Donald Trump did for me was that I look at the presidency of the United States in a different light today, and I'm not entirely sure that's a good thing, but I don't hold it maybe with the reverence that I might at the position that I had at one time.
I used to always say you have to respect the office.
Yeah,
and I think you're saying now maybe
but it's hard.
Trump
it's
took a
harder
little
to.
bit away from
I
that.
think a little bit of it, yeah.
Yeah, when he's going on Twitter taking shots at people and making fun of disabled people.
Exactly
and
right.
All the idiocy that he brought.
Yeah. Exactly right. Lunacy.
I mean, he brought idiocy and lunacy, but people don't realize some of the things he did, international trade and other things, were brilliant.
Of course.
Were absolutely brilliant. But if you, and this is the world that I can't live in.
Absolutely.
When someone does something brilliant, I'm going to acknowledge that, regardless of who it is.
Of course.
But now, if you acknowledge that Trump did something brilliant, immediately you're hated, you're despised, you're an idiot. How could you say? Well, because some of the things he did in terms of trade were brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant.
There's no question.
He exposed himself for saying, why would I not take advantage of the loopholes that are given me to not pay taxes? Wouldn't that be time when and again, if the Democrats gave a shit or cared or understood or weren't limo liberals themselves with Biden has 5 houses, Pelosi's a multi-gazillionaire. People,
Bernie flies first class.
They're for the common folk. They're for the poor. They represent the poor. The Kennedys represent the poor. No. They made their money bootlegging. I mean, come on. No one wants the truth because they can't handle it because it goes against their narrative.
Of course.
It goes against what they want to believe.
Of course, man. Of course.
And it infuriates me, obviously.
Yeah. Well, John Kerry's the one that always infuriated. When I looked at the left, that was the one that it was like when I thought
he took the widow of one of the greatest men,
John Hines. Yep.
We were robbed.
Yes,
of someone that could have actually been the guy that we're talking about.
Yeah,
that's the guy that we're talking about. And oh, by the way, he's a Democrat. And I loved everything about John Hines because you couldn't corrupt him. He was the heir to the Hines fortune. He took care of the elderly, took care of the poor, the sick. Yep. He cared about giving a handout, not a helping hand, not just he didn't think that throwing money at things was going to fix anything. Because by the way, we're 7 generations in, it doesn't work. Throwing money at a problem doesn't work.
We're still not learning that lesson, though.
No, because that takes work. It's like parenting. It is. It's work.
There's no doubt.
We need people to be educated. We need people to be skilled. We need people to make things. We need people to be able to function. People just, let's raise the minimum wage. Well, can they do anything? No. Well, I got to pay him more. So the guy I'm paying $7 has no skill at anything, no education, but I'm supposed to give him $15?
Yeah, of course.
Why?
Of course.
Let me give you that $8 to go get an education, learn a skill, become a plumber, a mason, do something.
That requires work, Paul. That requires work.
Think about that for a second. We want people not to go, instead of throwing that money toward let's educate or somehow train people to be very productive in our society, just give more money.
Oh, it's happening now. It's happening now.
It's insane.
Guaranteed income is a real thing. It's starting to pop up I think in California, some cities.
Hey, our restaurant's open. Come back to work. You kidding me?
Exactly.
I was making $400 a week with you. They're paying me $600 to stay home.
That's the problem now.
And we think government's good? Government sucks.
Well, here's the thing, though. What's crazy is our own human laziness and our inability to think critically is going to just really hurt very soon because the money is going to run out, and the benefits are going to run out. And then
the money's not there now.
I know, but I'm saying the programs where people are getting free. There's a shelf life to that stuff, and it's coming up.
Well, that money that's being doled out doesn't exist.
No, it hasn't been printed yet.
It doesn't exist. People don't realize that either. Oh, just stimulus. Where's it coming from? And Sally, you know what they're going to have to do? And this is another thing that Biden's already done. And again, please don't make this isn't political.
Right. It's observation.
He's bombing people. Said he wouldn't do that. He hasn't even. How long has he been in office?
A couple of months.
Bombing other countries. I'd never do that.
Of course not.
How do you feel about that? Those of you that are so ardent, this guy's going to be different and change everything. What's going on at the border right now?
I mean, that's
kids in cages. That was all. Trump's the worst person that ever lived because there are kids in cages. Now there's more kids in cages. But that's okay?
So that's an example.
How's that okay? It wasn't okay. Don't think it was not okay then. Now there's more kids in cages, but no one says anything. Why?
Well, they're blaming the other guy. They're blaming the guy before them. They found
how?
something. I don't know how it's being done, but they are doing it. That is a prime example. This border disaster, it's not even a mess. It's not even a crisis. It's a disaster. That's politics 101. You hate your opponents and their administration and all their people so bad that everything they've done, we have to undo. Everything.
Right.
If that is an extremist view, I don't know what is. Could we not have taken a hard look at policy after policy, make an evaluation on each, and then adjust accordingly? No. That would have taken sophistication. What we did was, fuck Trump and everything he did, and we're going to overturn or undo everything that administration
Especially
did.
the stuff that worked.
Exactly. And you know what? He was against the border. We're going to tear the wall down, and we're just going to encourage mass immigration.
Right.
And what
murderers,
you have
rapists,
is what you
come
have
on
now,
in.
Is what you have now.
Come on in.
Yeah. And
we're going to defund the police and bring in rapists and murderers in our borders. And there's nothing we can do about it.
And COVID, I'm sure.
Yeah. Tons of that.
Yeah. So let me turn this to sports, because you and I could probably solve all the world's problems here in another hour or two.
I haven't solved anything. I'm just telling you what bothers me.
I have to ask you now. We are in the start of baseball season, and
Pirates are undefeated.
They are. They won today. They did. I'm not a fan. I can't go there. I don't believe. I want to believe. I can't believe. We'll see.
I hear you.
We'll see. We're gonna have some fans in the ballpark, huh? We're going to have some fans in PNC. We're going to have some fans in other cities as well. Is it going to look a little more like a baseball season this year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the fact that they're at least planning on a 162-game season is very encouraging. Mm-hmm. The NFL has boldly said we will have full stadiums in the fall.
They said that? I haven't seen that.
Full stadiums.
How about that?
And I think I'm only going on, again, the thing that the most egregious thing that really incensed me about our Commonwealth's handling of the pandemic was, well, we're basing this on science. And there was no science.
Right.
Zero.
Right.
Every time Wolf said science, it was like a lie. I mean, there was no. They based it on nothing.
Yeah.
They based it on what Cuomo did. What did Cuomo do? All right, we'll do that. Where's he now?
That worked real well.
Where's he now?
That worked real well.
I mean, I have a sister that lives in New York City, and she's staunch Cuomo, and I'm like going, how many hundreds of thousands did he kill in nursing homes? I mean, come on. Why did Dr. Levine take her mother out of the nursing home? I mean, we don't hold anyone accountable if they are on our side.
Of course, man. They're our team. Rah team.
I hate both teams. I hope I made that clear.
Very much so.
I hate both teams.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
because
where the problem.
They suck.
That's where the problems lie. Because the teams are now extremes. You see, listen, Paul. The Democratic Party, as you knew it growing up, and the Republican Party, as you knew it growing up, do not exist.
No. Do you realize how, like Obama, how conservative he would appear now? If you would, how about
Bill Clinton?
How about what they felt about the border?
I know. Go back and watch all the sound
bites. Watch the tape.
Watch the tape.
Just watch the tape. Those are your heroes. They are they walk on water. If you would play back, I mean they're very conservative compared to Trump. But now we have gone so far off
he's the bad man.
Off the reservation.
Right.
Yeah, it just doesn't even matter what people say. It's who said it.
Well,
it's sad to me.
Is the state of New York gonna have any fans? They had fans for the football game. Didn't Buffalo have fans?
Yeah, they had like 25%.
So it wasn't statewide there? Is New York City its own entity?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Cuomo's tried to now. I mean, he's ignored everything.
Cuomo's got a lot more problems than a baseball game, Paul.
Wow. But it was just so funny that when everything unfolded, like, when's this going to be closed or this going to be shut down? Just watch Cuomo.
Right.
Next day, Wolf. Okay, Cuomo, Wolf, Cuomo, Wolf. I mean, it was just... And then... It's...
Hey, I have family out in California, and you ought to hear the Gavin Newsom thing. They got their own wolf out there.
It's
unbelievable.
10,000 people a day are leaving California.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And sadly for states like Texas and others,
they're getting them.
They're coming and trying to act like they did there.
Yeah, Arlington.
No, you're not welcome.
Arlington is an interesting. I follow Joe Rogan a lot in that podcast.
He's unbelievable.
But he's in Arlington now. He was very vocal about it. But he's actually bringing. There's a lot of people following him, and Arlington's probably the most progressive city in Texas, if there is a progressive city in Texas.
Right.
I mean, it's like a liberal utopia there in Texas.
But, I mean, they're all carrying guns, but they're liberal. Okay.
Again, that goes to what we talked about before.
Right.
If it's like, how do you rectify you're pro-life and you're also pro-gun, right? Sure. They don't know. They don't think about the issue. The issue's irrelevant, man. The issues it's the guy or the gal who's leading them. See,
correct.
It's our people. It's our people, Paul. It's our people. I don't want to play on that team.
I don't want to play on either team. I hate both teams. I can't. Again, equal opportunity offender. I always have been.
So, baseball. Pirates.
Okay.
Pirates. I mean, you saw one. So there's 161 games left, and of course, the whole city of Pittsburgh thinks that they're going to the World Series today.
No.
And who was the young kid who hit the home run?
Brian
Hayes. And he's going to be the greatest. My son sends me a text, Dad, Brian Hayes is going to be amazing. I said,
he's
son,
legit.
I said, son, he's had one at bat. And he just sent me this emoji back that had like a flat line. He's like, yeah, okay.
Starling Marte, one of the few, homered on the first pitch he saw in Major League Baseball.
I didn't know that.
One other
That's
great Pirate legend homered his first at bat, not on the first pitch.
Okay.
Just throwing it out there.
Who?
Chuck Tanner.
Oh, get out of here.
Isn't that cool?
Really?
Oh, yeah. First at bat, home run.
You're just a worth of information here, buddy.
Worthless, but enjoyable.
What should the Pirate fan reasonably expect this year, in your opinion? Reasonably.
Well, considering what they've done and what they're trying to do, and I believe Ben Cherington, with the Red Sox and Toronto background, understands what it takes to win.
Okay.
They're tearing it down to the studs. I mean, the one thing that, Huntington and that hurdle regime would do is they'd go halfway. We're halfway in, we're halfway out. And that doesn't work.
No.
So
you mean kind of like the Steelers?
Well, to their credit, as they sat 11-0 last year, you're thinking they might be onto something. And if Bush doesn't get hurt and Dupree doesn't get hurt,
they won some ugly games, though.
Oh, they were awful. And Ben hijacked his own offense and refused to hand the ball off, refused to get up under center, refused to run play action, refused to do the jet sweeps and everything else.
Grab a fumble.
Yeah, just looked at it like, oh, sorry. But as long as they had Ben at quarterback and that kind of talent around him, they thought, let's be all in.
Okay.
And I have no problem with that.
I'll buy that.
I have no problem with that.
Pirates don't have that ability, though.
Well, no, and where Bob Nutting lost most people, we had that little renaissance in 13, 14, and 15, which, the Cueto game and everything else.
Right.
But after they won 98 games, instead of bolstering that team and adding on and investing, because he promised that if people showed up, well, then I'll spend the money.
He did.
And guess what? They showed up. He didn't spend any money.
Nope.
Now, we can't fire the owner, but I don't imagine that Ben, Cherington came here without the belief that if he puts together in a year or two, and maybe even 3, because they don't have any rotation. They have no starting pitching. They have no starting pitching. And as you know, as a baseball fan, the two things you can't buy on the open market as a small market team are pitching and power.
Nope.
Because it's now $300 million. It's $300 million. And baseball has no interest in a salary cap. So the small market teams, even though I love Tampa Bay and what they do, Oakland to a degree does a lot of great things. Minnesota pulled some things off. Kansas City certainly did some wonderful things. So, but you have to be perfect.
Yeah, you have
to be perfect.
Yes,
and then, where are they now?
Yes.
They went all in. They got close. Kansas City, to their credit, got to one and won one.
Yes.
Which, we're talking 1979 since we've been to one and won one. So that's a long time.
But they had to tear it
so
down.
we would
after
trade
they
that.
wanted
But now they're years and years away from that again. So
the great thing about Oakland for me as a fan, though, is they're challenged in many ways, like the Pirates are, but they seem to be able to put strings of winning seasons together. And granted, they're not winning the pennant all the time, but for fans, it's competitive baseball, and you're in. At the end of the fall, you're in it.
Yeah.
You're in something.
And that's why I think people are okay with the Steelers. I mean, they have 3 playoff wins in the last 10 years, but every year you go to the season thinking, if things fall right, this could work.
Yeah, good point.
There's
good
something there. There's
good analogy.
Penguins, same way. I mean, Penguin fans are funny to me.
Okay.
Because they don't really know a damn thing about hockey. They just love the Penguins.
Yeah, in Pittsburgh,
They love the Penguins.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Now, it's growing.
That's interesting.
It's growing.
That's interesting.
But they don't really have a working knowledge of the NHL. They don't really understand the game. They didn't probably grow up playing it because that's still a small...
Good point.
That's a small group of people.
That's a good point.
But they love the Penguins. If the Steelers would have been, or the Pirates even for that matter, swept in their last 2 playoff appearances, I mean swept. Montreal was a seller.
I know.
At the trade deadline last year, and they swept the Penguins in the playoffs.
I know.
They were a seller. They're like, this isn't our year. We're going to try and be better for next year.
Right.
Oh, but we got to play the Penguins. Okay, we'll play them. They beat them in 4 straight games.
Mm-hmm.
If Penguin fans were like Steeler fans or Pirate fans, they'd be killing their team.
There's no doubt.
They'd be killing them.
So why
get rid of this guy, get rid of that guy? But
why is it different?
Because it's just like a love affair, and because the Penguins are masters at controlling their fan base.
Help me understand.
Student rush.
Okay.
The one guy in this town that's critical of everybody kisses one team's ass.
Oh, yeah.
That would be Mark Madden kissing, sucking the ass of the Penguins. He loves the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Agreed.
And knowing the Penguin Brass as I do, and I love them, and I love the organization, they will never, ever align with a radio station that actually has critical talk.
Yeah, I get that.
They won't.
I see it now.
And they know that.
I see it. Smart move on their behalf.
They do student rush. They give pizzas to the kids in line. And they really... They understand what this means. They go with the phone. They go with the young kids. They continually...
What's smart?
Continually... It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's smart.
That's why they sell out every game.
Very interesting. But you're right with the fans.
But there's no critical... I mean, they'll pick a guy. Jack Johnson was the guy. I mean, they'll be a guy. There, you have to vent and criticize somebody.
Okay.
So they'll pick a guy, but that's about as far as they go. Isn't it crazy? Think about
that. You got that figured out.
There is no criticism of the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, that's true.
There's just not.
That's true.
And you know what? To be honest, it's refreshing. That's their team.
Yeah.
And they love them. And they fell so short the last 2 years. I mean, really ridiculously, embarrassingly short.
It was embarrassing, yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah, people were
These fans aren't turning on.
Right. People weren't willing to take the bridge. Now, the Steelers lose even a stupid a regular season game. They're ready to take. You deal with it.
Get rid of everybody. Fire him.
After the playoff loss last year, right? I mean, I could not believe, and I just happened to I was spending a lot of time in the car the next day. That Monday, I had appointments that were all over the place, and I was just like, I want to listen to this all day, just for amusement. People were losing their minds.
Right. Well, it was Cleveland.
I mean,
it was freaking Cleveland. And just, it's embarrassing. It goes way back to where we started.
I understand.
With not being able to administer and to adjudicate tough love.
Yeah. And that's where I want to, I appreciate you giving me so much time tonight, Paul. I won't keep you forever, but I do want to talk about this Ben thing, okay? I'm an average football fan. Don't have the same passion for football as baseball, as you know, but I pay attention. Why is it almost impossible for the, not so much Tomlin, because, I mean, he's still a hired help to me.
Right.
But that organizational leadership, why is the loyalty so ridiculous with this one player when they didn't show the same kind of loyalty at the end of Bradshaw's career. You know,
that again, the paradigm has shifted. The coach and the owner were still in control
at that time.
Yes.
Okay. Even
That's
the owner's not even in control anymore.
Well, I mean,
you would think
the Rooneys. I mean,
different Rooneys. Different Rooneys now.
Well, we're in the third generation.
Okay.
And also, they don't have the kind of money that most NFL owners have. Art Rooney's not a billionaire.
Okay.
So
okay.
They have other people that actually,
okay.
I'm not sure what
Investors.
the actual,
yeah.
They might have 51%, so they have controlling interest.
Right.
But
Right.
they have investors that have say. They have investors that say, this isn't working, or hey, we want to hear about this or talk about this. So,
what's your opinion as a sports fan? Are they making a mistake?
I think they're making a huge mistake.
Okay.
Because this is a bridge year. This is not a Super Bowl contending team.
Right.
And Ben doesn't care about the offense, doesn't care about anything other than his numbers and his legacy. Bruce Arians, I mean, it was freaking hysterical. And I go on, the Fan every weekend, and my buddies are even accusing me of hating Ben. I don't hate Ben.
Right.
Ben allowed me to cover and be a part of 2 Super Bowl championships, and I loved every second of it.
Right.
He was fantastic.
Right.
I mean, that guy with a big game on the line against the Ravens, getting hit and being tough and being a competitor was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But what he doesn't like to do is study film, work hard, work on a game plan, understand an offense, understand reads. He doesn't care about that. So Bruce Arians was asked, so you've now coached Peyton Manning. He was the coordinator in Indy for a little bit. Now he's obviously coached, Tom Brady to a Super Bowl. He's like, well, how does Ben fit in? He goes, he just likes to play. What's that mean? He doesn't like all that stuff. Ben
That's interesting.
doesn't come to the facility during the season on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
No one knows that. You listen to me because no one else says it.
I know. That's where
no one else says
That's where
it
I got it from.
because I know it's true.
Okay.
And it's one thing to have the Veterans Day off to rest your legs, rest your arm, but wouldn't you be in a meeting room with the coaches?
Certainly.
Nah. Wouldn't he be, in my opinion, right now, they have a new offensive coordinator and they're going to try to put in this new offense. Shouldn't Matt Canada and Ben Roethlisberger be together once or twice a week, every week? It's not happening.
If it was the Patriots organization, they would be.
Well, Tom Brady
would be doing it.
Brady's doing it now.
I believe it.
He's doing it now to win next year.
I totally believe it. Yeah, I totally believe it. But see,
I love Ben's competitiveness. I love the way he plays.
He's a gamer.
He's a gamer.
He's a gamer.
But if he had the desire, the dedication, the student of the game approach, he could be a whole lot better.
Could you compare Ben's style and the way he's made up as a player and that lackadaisical nature of approaching anything except the actual game? Wouldn't he have fit in pretty good on Madden's Raiders in the 70s? Did you think he, as opposed to Landry or Knowles teams?
Let's just go play. Yeah, let's just go play.
Because that's what they did. I mean, essentially, right? That staff they
just went and played.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they had practice and all that.
Sure they did. I mean,
but it was different, right?
Very different.
Because the philosophy was different.
Very different.
Because Stabler was a gunslinger. Those teams were
and
loose.
Bradshaw called all of his plays.
Yeah, people forget about that. Huh?
People, Hollywood Henderson, couldn't spell cat if I gave him spotted in the C and the A. That's bullshit. Because Bradshaw was a brilliant football player.
And that didn't turn out too well for Henderson in that Super Bowl.
No, it did not.
It did not. No, he never.
Which was great.
Yeah, it was poetic justice.
But I think Ben's run has been amazing. He's earned his Hall of Fame bust. He's going to be in Canton, but I really think the Steelers could have won that playoff game with Mason Rudolph at quarterback.
And what should they do? Who can you predict to be? Well, you don't know what's going to happen. Ben could get hurt in this season. You don't know what's going to happen in terms of what will ultimately play out. But if you were in charge, you would have put Ben out the pasture. It would have been done.
I would have thanked him. I would have said, hey, what an incredible... And people say, well, they're scarred from the way they treated Franco. I'm like...
Wait, what?
No. Franco Harris, in
Seattle.
He didn't end up, and he didn't even end up playing for Seattle that year.
Yeah.
And Franco wanted a 2-year deal. They offered him one, and then they let Rod Woodson walk, and he ended up having like 5 more great years. They didn't want supposedly, some people, that's their thought, is that they couldn't let that happen again.
Well, Troy
The guy
left
that's
on
won.
bad terms, right? Troy left on bad terms, I think.
They
too.
told him he was, they called him on the phone and said, "You're done."
So why does Ben not get that treatment?
Tell me.
I don't know.
That's the great mystery to me. The great mystery to me.
Because it
The
isn't
2
like he's
Super
had a
Bowls?
squeaky. He hasn't had a squeaky clean reputation.
It's been
here,
good. I mean, the good part about our society
the 20
is,
years.
I mean, he's been the last 10 years.
Yes.
He's been a solid citizen.
Yes.
He's
But
not Troy Polamalu.
That's,
Know that.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Know that.
20
he's
years.
Not, he's not that guy.
Right.
But very few are.
Right.
It's almost unfair to compare anyone to that man.
Agreed.
But
Agreed.
that's not bad.
Yeah.
I don't think he deserves to be treated better than Troy Polamalu.
I would agree, and I think most Steeler fans would agree. I would hope.
I hope so
Those
too.
who paid attention.
But, this year is what it is. Kevin Colbert's on a year-to-year. He's staying
Right.
one more.
You think Ben will be around 2 years?
No.
If it's health, because that's the
No.
talk is he's going to be back again next year as well too.
Well, I mean, now that all these other entities are going to get into the TV bidding war, I mean, the salary cap's going to go way up. So, I mean, Ben's salary's not going to be an issue.
Right.
And to his credit, and I want to give credit where credit is due, he took a $5 million haircut on his contract this year.
Well, he wants to play.
He does.
He's still getting
But
paid a
does
healthy
he?
amount of
But
money.
does he have $15 million? It's not a bad year. Why not work at it?
Yeah. Especially now.
Why not try?
Especially now, Paul, when you really need to pay more attention to your craft based
Right.
upon physical limitations
Well, I
and
mean,
everything
you're a
else.
baseball guy.
Uh-huh.
The guy that used to blow it by hitters as a pitcher in his first 5 or 6 years in the majors. And he lost a little something off the fastball. Some of those guys go away, or some of those guys learn how to pitch.
They learn how to throw a curveball.
Learn how to pitch
an
and when
off-speed
to
pitch,
throw it and when
a
to
breaking
throw
ball.
it.
Absolutely.
Every time they expect something, they get something else.
I think it's Chicago Cub who played in the
Leiter.
80s. The pitcher in the Cubs started Maddox.
Oh, Tom. Oh,
Yeah, he went when he went to Atlanta. He started in Chicago. He had to learn how to pitch and adjust as his career went on. I mean,
and he painted. I mean, the guy painted. And the umpires certainly.
yeah, I will give him that. Yeah.
Okay. Strike 3. What? I was a foot outside. Now it was. Sorry, not when he's pitching.
Buddy, I appreciate it, man.
My pleasure.
I can't thank you enough. And I'd like to get you back in. We don't want to wait a whole year again. I know your schedule's insane, but maybe like once we get deep into this baseball season, I'd like to have you back on, do some baseball stuff.
It's just a phone call away.
And I appreciate the friendship, and I don't mind telling anybody that. I really appreciate
I
the
love
friendship,
what you're
buddy.
doing with yourself.
Thank you, buddy.
I mean, that
Yeah.
self-improvement,
yes, sir.
I'm not going to hate you for it. I love you for
Why,
it.
thank you. I appreciate it.
No, I'm very impressed.
All right, buddy. Thank you, man.
All right, brother.
All right, friends. we're
Peace out.
We'll talk to you soon.
Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.